Hello, art friends. Today, we'll be taking a look at an illustration I did based on the art of my friend Dustin and talking about pushing yourself in order to speed up your progress in art. This illustration was done as part of the Draw This in Your Style challenge. It's a really cool event that I haven't had the chance to take part in before, so I was really excited to do so this time. This character is actually something that Dustin came up with years and years ago, and he wrote some lore for us to use as inspiration when working on the piece. It reads as follows. She was ancient when humans went to the stars, a stowaway on the first interstellar ships. When Earth died, a forgotten memory to the million worlds of human colonies, she remembered in the cold dark between stars. Wishing to walk as she did in her youth on sunlit shores, she constructed the crown of shadows with the science and occult craft of the greatest alien and human minds. Built with the bones of her enemies and the very stuff of dead stars, night flowed across her as a liquid, and she once again walked in the light of new suns. Strength and craftiness were never strangers to her, and now she clothed herself in a skin of intrigue and mystery, pulling the strings of human and alien empires alike. Her reasons are inscrutable. Her name is known, but she is never seen, a puppeteer of 1,000 worlds reaching out from her dark station. She wears a pale leather inscribed with the traditions of her legend-lost kin. She is the first, she is the last, she is spoken of only by one name, Viscountess. I decided to get pretty ambitious with this one. I'd never really done a full illustration to this level before, having spent most of my time working either in the concept space or working on smaller assets. Most of the art I've done has been in the game development side of things, and so I've created tons of different UI icons or ideas and concepts for characters and spaces. But a full-on illustration at a high level of detail is something I've always wanted to do. I feel like it's very easy to spend most of your time in your art learning journey working on incremental improvements to your craft. Studies are a really great example of this, and I love doing studies. I try to do them weekly, if not more often. But when everything is predetermined for you, when you're focused on one particular thing, there comes a point where you might not be pushing yourself that much. Studies can be great for not only learning, but for getting quick wins, for being able to see something finished. I've really enjoyed a lot of the studies that I've done. Replicating a photo or taking one and spinning it in a different way is a really great way to hone in on a specific skill or concept. And you can definitely set different rules or parameters to a study to make it more challenging for yourself or flex a new muscle. Whether it's a study or a larger piece like this, I feel like the most important thing is to be ambitious. Don't just aim for what you know you can achieve, but try to do more. Failing at something is always scary, especially when it's something that you care about. If you want to be good at art, you want your art to be good. But if you always do what you know you can do, if you always do what's easy, your improvement will come at a slower pace. And if you just do art to have fun, to meditate, to do something creative, and you don't care as much about getting good quickly, that's okay too. I feel like these days it can be really easy to look at the art on social media, to see the amazing pieces that people put out there can either inspire or be discouraging. You don't see the years, the tens of thousands of hours that go into getting to the point of being that good when you just see the finished piece online. For myself, because I want to get good quickly, I want to catch up to these other artists, the only way I feel like I can do that is through not just studying and learning from others, but trying to push myself as much as possible. And this piece did that for me. I failed a bunch of times in the midst of working on this. I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot of things that I was doing didn't work in the context of a full illustration, that certain parts of the design process, the rendering process, the composition process needed more thought and planning to get the best result possible in the most efficient use of time. There were moments that I got frustrated where I felt I wasn't making progress, and I had to be very mindful of being patient with myself. I want to get to the point where my work can be at a similar level to Frank Frazetta or a Dave Raposa or a Pete Moorbacher, but it's going to take me time, and I'm going to need to make a lot of mistakes along the way. So instead of looking at the mistakes that I made during this process and getting down on myself, I'm just excited to start the next piece, to take the lessons that I've learned, the workflows that I've improved, and try to do better next time. I also know that it might not be better, that it's likely I will do things worse than this in the future, hopefully not too many, but that you're not always going to do better just because you're doing it again. For example, I've been writing songs and playing music since I was a kid. And even if you've been doing that for decades, you're gonna write bad songs. So when all is said and done, I feel like this song turned out okay. I like the mood I established. I like a lot of the design choices, and I'm pretty happy with some of the rendering. But I know that there's a lot of improvements I can make to the environment, to the composition, to certain elements of the overall design. I made the decision at the beginning of this process to challenge myself in a couple of specific ways. That I was going to work with a more extreme angle on the piece, which doesn't really translate as extreme as I might have wanted it to be, but it still gave me that challenge I was looking for. I knew I wanted a very dimly lit scene to have all of the light come from the screens and this hole in the ground that you see. And I wanted the character themselves to glow, to really fit in with the environment. I feel like the main thing that I want to do better next time is on the character design itself. I got a little wrapped up in all of the different elements that I had to add to the scene and didn't do enough to blueprint the character itself. You'll see I redesign a lot of elements of the character when I'm pretty far along in the rendering process. I was impatient to move on to the next step, and that hurt me later. If I had had a clearer picture of what I wanted to do with the character redesign, I could have spent more time in that part of the process and enjoyed the rest quite a lot more. I like rendering. It's hard, but it's very rewarding. But it gets so much harder if you don't have well-established line art, if you don't know where everything is going to go, if you're leaving things to guesswork later on. So that will be one of the main things I'm going to take to my next work. Blocking things out better and spending more time in that initial design phase so that the rest of it can just be done in a fun, meditative state, and I can just try to bring that scene to life. To wrap up my thoughts here, I really enjoyed working on this and diving into an ambitious project. And the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this is that I want to do this again. I want to set a really high bar for myself that I probably won't reach, so that I can continue to find lessons within my work and get better as quickly as I can. I hope you enjoy the rest of this time lapse. I've linked Dustin's work and Huckleberry Art we'll put on this challenge in the video description below. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you next time.